Hi, mystery writers. I'm Zara Altair, and this is Write a Killer Mystery, where we talk about making a good mystery great. And today I want to talk about when characters run wild with your story. But first, I want to thank my patrons on Patreon for supporting this video series and supporting my mystery writing. And if you would like to support Write a Killer Mystery, there's a link in the description below. Thank you all for your support. So, what do you do when characters go rogue? You create a strong character that has enough interest to you to include in your story, and then they do more. They take action and run with the story. They barge into scenes. They interrupt dialogue. And as a result, those characters and the storyline get bumped around. So last week, I talked about letting characters take action when your story seems squeezed into structure. But characters can take the reins and gallop away with the story, especially when they're secondary characters. So first of all, I want to point out that this is actually a good problem. A rogue character is a sign of your ability to create a strong character, so don't be discouraged. Strong characters are good problems. A rogue character is a sign of your character development success. Strong characters have a well-defined personality and a good set of goals and motivations and passions, and they have the coherence and individuality that make them compelling to you and to your reader. You understand the character and can plan what they are going to do, and you understand what they will need and how they will react in certain situations. And you understand what they want and what they will do to achieve their goal. But the problem is sometimes those characters do more than you had expected, and they can bump your storyline around. So first of all, let's talk about 3 reasons why characters do go rogue. One of the main reasons is those strong goals and strong motivations. When you understand your character's motivation to reach a goal, they will act to reach that goal through strong motivations. And as you write, the motivations are first in your mind, and you follow those motivations, and the character acts, including dialogue, in ways prompted by the motivation, but not according to your storyline. It's really a sign that you're deep into your character and you have a connection with your character. The second reason characters take over a story is that they are more strongly defined than the protagonist. And this can happen if the protagonist is there to fill a plot role, but is not heavily developed. So for instance, in mysteries, the character is going to be your sleuth, and you're all excited about the clues and the suspects and everything, but you haven't done a lot of work on the actual character of the sleuth, and that can present a problem because those secondary characters can kind of take over. The story is moved along by the plot, and the characters' essence and motivations, in other words, their essence is who they are, their whole personality that you've developed in that character background, they're not strong. And that means that those secondary characters can just bowl right over them. Those stronger characters push that weaker character aside. So beginning mystery writers may find this happening when they have a detective to solve the mystery, but they have not developed a deep 3-dimensional sleuth. The third reason characters take charge is that the plot is weak. As a writer, you don't know where the story is going, and neither do your characters. And if you don't have a strong enough plot line, the strong character will just take over to lead the story in their direction. And that rogue action usually appears in the first draft, especially for pantsers. So your interest goes with the characters and strays from the storyline. So, okay, that's cool. Those are the reasons why, but you really want some steps to align your characters and your story. So when you feel that a character is taking over, the first step is to stop writing and then evaluate why the character is bumping your storyline. Is it a weak plot? Or is your protagonist not up to snuff yet as a character? You want to go back and look at reasons why, those 3 reasons I just talked about, why this is happening. And then there are ways that you can get your story back on track and give that rogue character a place in your story without them taking over. So the first is the character development revamp, and that's go back to your character development and work on your main characters. Give them strong story goals that will drive them through the story and examine their deep motivations. For example, for a sleuth, not just to catch the killer in the mystery, but how catching the killer fits with their personal values and goals. And I want to say this is true for your main character, so not just your sleuth, but your villain as well. These are the 2 strong opposing characters in your story, and you want to really know about them. You want to be able to pull out the details on those characters that are really going to give them that 3-dimensional presence in your story. And you want to examine your rogue character's background as well. They may be taking over because you're trying to figure out their motivations on the fly, because you didn't know about them before you started writing. So go back and look at them just as well and see if that is part of the problem. And then sharpen their goals and their motivations and their passions, and make sure you understand the character, what makes them tick and what's driving them, and make sure their goal is clear and specific but hard to get, and that their desire is really strong. And that way you'll make them more interesting and they can take their fair share of the storyline. And the second way you can help with these rogue characters is to beef up your storyline. It's something like your main character, what they're doing right now in the story may seem dull, so you want to spice that up and add more conflict and make sure the stakes get higher as the story progresses, and brainstorm some clever twists and then work them into your protagonist's goals, motivation, and passion. Remember, your protagonist is the main character, and you want to know as much about them. You want to expose as much of their details and how they work in the story as you can. So a strong storyline gives your main character things to do, and it won't be so easy for another character to come in there and try to push them out of the way and derail the story. Another way to approach it is to accommodate that rogue character. Here they are, they've taken over, they're saying and doing all these things and kind of pushing the action around. So you may want to develop a subplot around this rogue character. Give them more space in your story. Just make sure that the subplot is a subplot and it ties in to your main story. Okay, another solution is this character, you obviously have a lot of connection with this character, and that is to put aside all those big things about that character and put them in a future story, give them their own story later in time, and then put them back to their secondary position in this story. So you save all the dimensions and goals and motivations for another story with this character as the protagonist, and you'll have ample opportunity to work with that character in the new story. So that's another solution. Just give them a whole story, but make it different than the one you're working on right now. The other one is making the rogue character the main protagonist and building the story around them. I call that the hard call rewrite. And this is a hard call because essentially you're creating a new story, and the plot line will change around the new protagonist story arc. And this option really should only be considered when you've tried the other solutions, because you're tearing up a lot of the work that you've already done, and you're essentially starting all over. So those are some solutions to align your characters with your story. So I think essentially what you want to do is play with your strengths and congratulate yourself on creating a strong character. When you feel that character starting to take over the story, then stop and evaluate what causes this character to derail the story, and then work through the causes to arrive at the best solution for your story. So bolster your main characters, especially the protagonist and the antagonist, the sleuth and the villain in a mystery. Make your storyline robust, up the stakes as the story continues, and bring your rogue character in line with the other characters and the plot. And you'll transform your rogue character into their rightful place in the story. Okay, I hope that helps. I think you want to balance this episode with the last episode about squeezing your story, so you really get a good balance between the characters and the plot line. And then I just wanted to mention that Plotter not only helps you outline the plot of your story, but there's a whole section for character development, character by character. You create it. You can do whatever you want. You can have the characters' goals and motivations. You can have their personality. You can have their wounds. And of course, you can have their physical attributes. But mainly you want to focus on how they work in the story. And you can put that all in the character section of Plotter. And then in your outline, in your story outline, in your plot, you can tag those characters in each scene of your story so you know where the characters are in your story. And that is a very good way to keep your characters in line, keep them aligned with the storyline, and keep them from running away with your story. Okay, I hope that helps. Thank you so much. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe and hit that little notification bell so you'll know when the next episode of Write a Killer Mystery arrives. And meantime, keep writing.